Good evening, and thank you for hanging in there with us tonight. We wanted to make sure we got everybody in. So I am thrilled to see you all here tonight. Welcome to Big Arts. My name is Lee Ellen Harder. I'm Executive Director, and I'm really happy you're with us tonight. The first thing I want to do, I brought myself a note so I wouldn't forget, is to please remind you to turn off your cell phones. We have several live mics up here tonight, so if everyone could silence their phones or turn them off, that would be great. Thank you. We're delighted to welcome the Reverend Rebecca Stevens here tonight in this collaboration that we are doing with Zonta. Tonight's program is emblematic of the community collaborations that Big Arts loves to do and we want to continue to do to bring the community together to spark a dialogue on these important topics that touch us all. I want to thank the Zonta Club of Sanibel-Captiva and the current president, Barbara Barron, for making this all possible, but I especially want to thank Virginia Jones, the immediate past president, and also the co-chair of this event for really making this happen. She brought this idea to us last spring, and we've worked with her and her team for the last several months in what turned into a 3-part series on women's empowerment. So we're thrilled you're here tonight, and please join me in welcoming Virginia Jones.
I am a member of the Zonta Club of Sanibel-Captiva, and I am, as Lee Ellen said, a co-chair of this event, and I need to first start by recognizing my co-chair, Carol Gastwicki, and also all the members of the Service and Advocacy Committee. Those of you on the Service and Advocacy Committee of the Zonta Club, raise your hand. I actually can't see you because the lights are in my eyes, so. As many of you know, Zonta is an international service organization founded in 1919. We now have 30,000 members in 66 countries around the world. And Zontans work together to empower women through service, advocacy, and fundraising. Many of you know us because of our very successful fundraiser, A Peek at the Unique, a tour of 4 island homes in March, now in its 16th year. But Zonta is much more than a house tour. In addition to valuable grants to organizations improving the lives of women this year, totaling over $100,000 locally and internationally, members of our club provide thousands of hours of service right here in Lee County. I'd like to see the hands of all the people from the Zontans from the Zonta Club of Sanibel-Captiva. Raise your hands. Thank you. And then also, if I could then see the hands of people from Zonta clubs not on Sanibel-Captiva. I think we have a couple people from, wonderful, see, so we have the other clubs. I asked these Zontans to raise their hands because if you have any question about what the club does, what Zonta in general does, or anything about these series, Zontans are the people to ask. So you can talk to them at the reception after this event. Zonta International, along with UN Women and other advocacy organizations around the world, have designated November 25th, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, to December 10th, which is Human Rights Day, have designated these 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Locally, the Zonta Club participates in Zonta Says No to Violence Against Women campaign to raise awareness. But this year, we asked ourselves, what could we do that would have a greater impact in the community? Watching Half the Sky and A Path Appears, well-known documentaries by Nicholas Kristof and Cheryl Woodun, caused us to think about how freedom comes from economic self-sufficiency. As we looked into this topic, whoa, we can't really see that slide, but that's okay. As we considered economic self-sufficiency, we thought that there were 4 categories of intervention. And the reason I'm mentioning this now is that in the future series, we're also going to be looking at these different categories. One thing to do for a woman is award a scholarship so that she can continue her education. Another is to provide job training. A third is to give a loan or a grant and guidance for her to start a business. And the fourth, which we're going to be looking at especially tonight, is to start a social enterprise business to provide on-the-job training and employment. We started to imagine bringing Becca Stevens here so that we could find out more about social enterprises such as Thistle Farms. Then we asked ourselves, well, what's happening here in Lee County? And so we started getting together with representatives from nonprofits who are working right here and talking to them about their successes and what they need from the community. Before we knew it, this first Thursday, which was a part of the 16 days of activism, turned into the first Thursday of December, the first Thursday of January, and the first Thursday of February. That's what happens when Zontians start talking about something. But we needed a place. We talked around, we asked a number of people, but when we came to Big Arts and Lee Ellen Harder said to us, well, how about a collaboration? It was a go, and Becca was booked. We're really excited about January 5th when we'll have a panel of representatives from organizations who are working in the trenches on the issue of economic opportunity. The panel will be moderated by Sarah Owen, and on the panel will be Deborah Dell from Dress for Success. Deborah, stand, please. I didn't even tell you I was going to do this, but we can hold our applause and applaud for everybody. So Barbara Dell, Lucy Garcia from Oily, where are you? Deborah Mathinas from Heights, and Dorothy Browning from Goodwill. So this... And thank you so much for all the work you're doing right here in our hometown. We'll also have a special video created by our own Rusty Farst that will focus on local success stories right here in Lee County, and we'll watch a portion of A Path Appears. In February, after watching a segment of Half the Sky, we'll be treated to a creation by the Wham Theater, where arts and activism meet. And then we'll investigate how to use creative funding to start or support a business. And at both events, there'll be lots of shopping opportunities to buy things made by women. So what's our goal? Our goal is to bring people together to share and to listen. People such as Becca and Kristin and Dorris from Thistle Farms, such as representatives of nonprofits right here in Lee County, people such as the survivors who are among us, our friends, and those with time and energy and resources to contribute, to bring together caring and compassionate people and to consider what is being done, what needs to be done, and to ask every one of us, what can we contribute? I need to do a few thank yous first, though. A major reason that we could dream about having this series was because of an unexpected generous donation from Sharon and Jim Ellen. Sharon is down here in the third or fourth row. We used their donation to take a chance on something that was new and unusual for Zonta. And then St. Michael and All Angel Episcopal Church and Eileen Fisher Foundation also supported financially a part of this series. We want to say thank you to Gulf Breeze Cottages and Island Vacation for the wonderful accommodations for our guests. And we especially want to say thank you to Big Arts for having the faith in our ideas and in being willing to collaborate with us. Thank you. In October, I went to Nashville to experience Thistle Farms myself. I got to eat in the Thistle Cafe and see the women filling their orders and making candles. I saw businesses thriving. I saw women working together. I received so many hugs, and we had a lot of laughs. I left uplifted and energized, and I was reminded that one person with a heart full of love can change another person's life. And from that, a movement can begin. It is in the spirit of love and in the spirit of taking chances that the Zonta Club of Sanibel-Captiva and Big Arts are excited to bring you the Reverend Becca Stevens, Kristin Beckham, and Dorris Walker.
We just got that video last night. And you guys really wanted us to talk about empowerment and about social enterprise. And it was like, oh, that came just on time. It is a joy to be here. Thank you so much. I was so sad when they said turn off your cell phones. You are free to tweet or be on Facebook, do whatever you need to do, take pictures. We love it. That's how we make our living. So if it messes up the mic, just do it quietly. But we are really, thank you, Carol, Jenny, and everybody. It's so beautiful, and we are so happy to be here. The only thing is we're very sad we're not staying. It is so nice. We walked on the beach, that piles of seashells, forget it. So as people were emailing and talking with us about what we could talk about, really what it came down to was the idea of how does love heal? How is it healing? Is it through just economic empowerment? Is it through trauma-informed therapy? Is it because you guys have all natural products? What is it? How does love heal? And that's really what I want to spend a little bit of time talking about. And I do think that love heals primarily through time. For me, it has never been a linear process. That I know that when we first start thinking about this journey of love and how it heals and how old it is, it seems like there's a point where you feel broken, and maybe then you come to a point where you feel healed. But it's a circuitous path, and sometimes it takes us back over and over and over some of the same ground. But there's a place in our lives, and when I mean healing, I'm really talking about this idea of an intentional walk towards wholeness. I'm not talking about some kind of miracle cure. You touch people, and that old childhood traumas and old addictions and abuses and mental health issues don't disappear. But over time, brokenness can really turn into compassion for others. And I believe that is what we are about at Thistle Farms. And I know that that has been the journey in my own life. That there comes a place where you and I have this intentional way that we want to walk towards wholeness in our own lives. And that's a place of great compassion for other people. That my healing and your healing are all wrapped up together, and we're bonded together. So the 2 years is because that over time is important. Rent-free. I've never met a woman coming out of prison or off the streets that had any money to her name. All the women that we serve are, on average, first rate between the ages of 7 and 11 and first hit the streets between the ages of 14 and 16 years old. So you're talking about someone who needs a home, who needs a real home and a place to do a lot of healing work. And the no authority, if you have childhood trauma, especially around sexual abuse, you know that authority is one of the biggest triggers. So we are a housing first model. We are about economic empowerment, but first and foremost, we are a housing first model for survivors of trafficking, addiction, and prostitution. So that's the model. That's how simple it is. It is old, old, old. Everybody that does, social entrepreneurship wants to think they're telling you something brand new. Like if you can learn these 3 words that begin with P, you're going to have complete success and joy. But this is really old, and sometimes I think the older, the deeper, and the truer. A lot of it is based on the Benedictine model. 13th century, radical hospitality, love without judgment. The way that we work is that the next woman coming in is the most honored guest in the whole circle. So truly, like they said in the video, by the time a woman comes into the program, we are like, we have lit 1,000,000 candles waiting for you. Thank God you made it. And so, really, there's not many programs in the country that are providing all of the things needed to really round out a journey of healing for a woman. And so we have been on this trajectory of going around and starting to talk and starting to establish communities. And we have grown to the point where we have close to 60 sister communities and affiliates around the country. And so we are really trying to beef up this number. Thousands and thousands of women needing the beds and only hundreds of beds available. It always is a no, many more times than it's a yes to women who need it. Our history has been just an unfolding surprise for me. That's how I can say it best. I think I have some good ideas. I'm not a big visionary type person. I believe in communal vision. I really do. I believe the idea that when you come together and I come together and you come together and we bring our individual gifts and talents, mine happens to be where arts and crafts and justice come together. It is a very narrow place, but it is fun for me. And if someone else has the beautiful skill of developing, a real savings account program for women, or somebody else has the ability to envision what an inventory system is, bring them. I remember the first time a chemist came our way. And I was like, oh, we need a chemist? I don't even know sometimes what it is. That's how ignorant we are until we can come together and build something beautiful. So we started, and it was because after 4 years of doing the housing, and the women were doing amazing work, but they were still dirt poor. And so the idea was, if we love women, we do have to be concerned about their economic well-being. So let's make something that can make some money specifically for the women survivors we were serving. It made sense to me to make something healing for the body. The statistics are overwhelming in this world. 20 million people are trafficked worldwide through labor and sex trafficking. People sell drugs, people sell girls, people sell lives of others. 98% of those that are sex trafficked are women and girls. And so it made sense to me to think about taking those universal issues and how they're truly born on individual backs, and how loving a body is the most healing way to start, and to make something that's healing for the earth, healing for a body that's both lavish and economical. That was the goal. And that went great. We were going along. NPR came in about 2010 and said, we want to do a national story on you. It was amazing. We've had statistics that have been consistent for the whole 20 years, really, that I've been a part of this community, that 80% of the women who come into the program graduate 2 years later. That's amazing. Yeah, you can, somebody, if you want to, I'd be happy for a clap. That's amazing. I promise I'm not a real quiet person. You can use your phone. You can talk if you want to anybody. You can say, every now and then to kind of, we can be in this together. So you're welcome to be quiet, too. I know that there's probably a lot of Episcopalians in here, and that I know that's hard on y'all. I'll take a blink. So it's true, isn't it? Oh, my gosh. I can say it because I am Episcopalian. That's why I can say that. Anyway, NPR fell in love with us. They decided to do not one story, but 4 stories. And they wanted to talk not just to the 80% of the women who make it through, but what happens to the 20% who relapse, who go back into a really bad relationship. We say it in our community, almost always women relapse over a relationship before they ever take a drug. It's awful to watch. And we have buried women who have hit the streets again, and you could only identify them by a tattoo sleeve. We have, seen women shot execution style in a cab of a truck. It's been a very humbling and, a journey that makes you want to be stronger. It's life and death. And so they talked to one of the women who had been struggling. And about a week before they aired the piece, the only time in the history of our organization, she was arrested for homicide. So we called NPR and we were saying, you're just going to have to pull the story. If this goes out, everybody's judgment is going to land on us and it's going to shut us down. You know, what business do we have doing this work? What difference does it make? You don't know anything. Women are manipulative. Women don't recover. All of those things that go in people's minds that I fear was all going to be on NPR on All Things Considered in a few days. And they said, no, we are going to tell the story, and we're going to tell the story of Tara. That is one of the most dramatic parts of the story, and it's going to be the end of the story. I was on the road. NPR went out and did the story. And I was walking around holding my cell phone thinking, I wonder if you can sweat so much it like kills your cell phone. Like it was just that sweaty. Like everything I'd been working on and hoping for was going to be exposed. And you know, if you've been a part of these service groups and church groups, that's the fear. Everybody's going to know that we have mess ups. You know, they're not going to want to give money and it's going to shut it down. No one called me from Thistle Farms. I couldn't take it any longer. I called about 4 hours later and everybody said, we can't talk. The orders are flooding us. And that what happened really was that about 1 million people wept with us. And all those voices and all that judgment was really in my own head. Those were my fears and my judgments. And I know all of us, that's what kills us in our inspiration or in our longing to do this work of justice. It's our own fears about our inadequacies, our fears about do we make a difference, are the issues too big and we too small, and all of those things that happen. And truly, if we hope, people will hope with us. If we really feel that joy of love infusing us, inspiring us, we can get to gratitude. We can get to inspiration. We can get to meaning. And people join us in that. So then it continued. When you were talking about A Path Appears, Nicholas Kristof came down. He took one of the graduates. He wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times called World's Best Mom, about one of our graduates that was celebrating her 10-year anniversary of marriage after she had come through the program, and her 2 children, and going back to school and getting her degree. She's now a part of training teams that works in rescuing young women coming off the streets every day and help save lives. But that was the beginning of freedom for me, of really dreaming big. And so where we have headed now is a totally vertically integrated model. I personally just learned that term a couple of weeks ago. I promise I did. This woman said, you know what you have is a vertically integrated model. And I was like, I'm making a new slide. Thank you. And so what that means is that we are able to be engaged with about 2,000 women a year. And it does. It goes from global partnerships to national partnerships to social enterprise partnerships to individual women. And our job really is to love the whole world, one person at a time. These are some of our global partners and where they're making a difference. And I'm so excited about the latest one. I flew from California, got back in early Wednesday morning, early Wednesday morning. And I was out in California. This is being recorded, so I probably shouldn't say it. But the person who founded Google's wife, what? You all know how big that is if you're a fundraiser, right? Went out to dinner with Wendy Schmidt, amazing woman, amazing. And we were pitching her our newest idea for a global partner, this economic empowerment endeavor. And if you have been reading about the 65 million refugees in this world, and especially the women and children who have fled Syria, The stories are unbelievable, and they are going to be stuck in Greece now for years. They are going to raise their children in tents. The depression and lack of money makes women as vulnerable to violence as anything in this world. It's like war. And so we're looking at all the life vests on the beaches there and how it would be a beautiful symbol and a powerful economic tool to take those life vests and weave them into welcome mats. So we found a woman from North Carolina that was a great weaver. We started collecting life vests, and we started making prototypes, and we took it out to California to pitch it. And Wendy said she thinks it is the best symbol she's seen of how this whole world is woven together and how it is, and how she thinks it will go viral. And the idea of people standing to say, I stand and welcome. The idea that the thing that people in control fear the most is poetry, right? Do something poetic and creative, and at the same time, go ahead and bring in several $100,000 to refugees stuck in Greece. Our first partner was in Rwanda. We started making healing oils. And these are all women who survived the genocide. There were about 30 women who got together, and they went out to a field. And they went to the field where they had dug up the bones of their children or been raped or found the bodies of their spouses. And they went out to those same fields, and they started planting healing products. Geranium plants, eucalyptus plants, patchouli. And I will say, as I have learned over the years, patchouli got a bad rap. It did. I know what everybody's thinking on patchouli. Do y'all know it's a wrinkle reducer? You blend it with the right stuff and it doesn't even smell that way. It is really good stuff. You should go look it up. Patchouli. And lemongrass was the other one. But the big one was geranium. And geranium is a bug repellent. It has all the beautiful properties of lavender, but it's also one of the most effective, all-natural. I'm sure that's not significant to y'all to have a mosquito repellent here. No, but is that incredible? So we had ours tested, the natural bug spray we make from their geranium oil, and it tested out at like 99.7% effective, like one of the most effective all-natural bug sprays you can find. And again, it was this point of women coming together, not giving up hope, creating something that was beautiful, and finding partners. In this work of justice, especially social entrepreneurship and women's empowerment, it is a non-competitive game. It is a cooperative activity. The more partners we get, the more people that sign on, the better everybody is. I have never taken a salary from Thistle Farms. I've always tried to make my living by preaching and speaking so that I can go out and I can say, we need this. We are all part of this same story where communities, both failed women and systems failed women, and communities that can welcome women back and systems that can welcome women back. So they started making this geranium oil. They have probably 120 farmers now in their cooperative. This is a woman, one of the original ones, teaching a whole class last summer while we were there about what women's empowerment looks like. And in her story, she talks about the 10 years from the genocide till it took to actually have enough money to buy a bed. Sometimes when you think about that whole world and all those issues, the 20 million people, it numbs you. But if I can think about, I can use a bug spray that is healing for me, and that enables one woman who never gave up hope after a genocide, have a safe place to sleep and teach others, I'm good. I'm good for a while on that. So we started making all kinds of oils, and we started distributing them. And one of my favorite things that we did is we started taking those oils all over the country and starting to sell them and start to have this vision of what a national market might look like. One of the places we went was Houston, Texas, and usually when we go into a place, we also go into the women's prison to share the same story. We went into the women's prison in August in Houston, Texas, and they don't have air conditioning. And the women work in turnip fields, and the guards are on horseback. So you can imagine the smell. Look, I love that. That was really good. Everybody kind of got into a rhythm of, oh. I'm trying to think of what else was bad about it. It was bad. So we got there, and we passed out the sheets of paper about how women empower each other, how they heal in community. And the woman that was sitting on the front row just took the piece of paper and laid it over her head. And she said, "What is that smell? It smells so good." By accident, the geranium oil had leaked into the papers in our packing. And when she said that, it was a real epiphany for me about how we do this work. That if a drop of oil can go from a field in Rwanda that was once a killing field into a healing place, and made by a woman that never gave up, and then it ships across the country to another group of women in Nashville, Tennessee, who, by God, know the underside of bridges and the inside of prison walls and the backside of anger and the short side of justice over and over and over again, and blend it into something, and then it goes on an airplane, and then it gets through the prison walls so a drop of it can be breathed in by a woman who needs to breathe in the fragrance of healing. Then we all can add those kinds of drops. We can add these bits of our lives that are given in a beautifully generous and faithful way. I mean, think about what all the resources are just in this room, about what is possible when we come together and we allow ourselves to move past fear, cynicism, numbness, laziness, our own brokenness, to move past that into something that is as hopeful as a beautiful drop of healing oil. So I want to talk just a little bit about economic empowerment, and then what I'm really excited about is to bring up Kristin and Dorris, who are both graduates of the program. They're amazing women. Kristin runs the whole front end of Thistle Farms. If you came in, you would see her. Dorris runs all the events, probably 300 or 400 events a year. And we have Brooke with us as well, who does all of the beautiful national travel planning so that we can be together. Katrina is the director of national sales. And when I first met Katrina, she was dying on the streets. I don't mean she was sick. I mean she was dying, that her mother was preparing a funeral. She came in and she had a young daughter named Ebony. We were just beginning. So when Thistle Farms started out, we were at Vanderbilt University. I'm a chaplain at Vanderbilt University. We were mixing our potions in the student kitchen and then just asking our friends, will you buy one? She came in the program. She started getting well. She was a powerhouse when she started getting well. And the way it works in our community is when women come together, the very first thing that they are asked to do when they start this plan, start this new life. And for some of them, it's not a second chance. It's a first chance at life. Draw your dream is the question we ask them to do, to contemplate and think about. If you can draw your dream, we can all work towards it. And it's the truth that you can imprison women, you can beat them, you can rape them as children, but you cannot kill hope in people. And it's amazing what people draw. It's the same stuff anybody in this room would draw. We all share that same DNA of hope. So Katrina was there, and her little girl says, Mama, draw a house. Draw a house, Mama. So Katrina drew a house. So Thistle Farms started growing. We started making friends. We had a few stores that started carrying us, and we asked Katrina, will you come on board and be the national sales director for Thistle Farms? And she basically said, hell no. And so I said, that sounds like a yes. Come on. So Katrina does it. She goes on. She helps grow the company. She has a sales team. She's doing great. Her daughter goes on to college. Katrina builds a house for she and her daughter. She got married 7 or 8 years ago. They adopted another child. It's a beautiful story. And Katrina says last year, it's getting way, way too much for me just to manage. I'm going to go do a search and find somebody just to manage the whole food store. So she goes out and she does a national search and hires Ebony. I swear that's what happened. And so last year, Ebony came to work with us. And she started managing all the whole food stores, came back to Nashville. Then Whole Foods called in March, April, and said, listen, you have a chance to go from 120 Whole Foods stores to all 430 stores in a global buy-in, but we need somebody to come to Anaheim to speak. So Katrina and I went to Ebony, and we said, guess what? You're going to Anaheim. And she basically said, oh, hell no. And Katrina said, I hear that is yes. And Ebony went out there and said, what in the world am I going to say? And we asked her to tell the story of her life, which is the story of women's empowerment when women come together. She was so beautifully brave that when she didn't have even a place to live, she was dreaming of a home. And once she could name it, a community could come around her and support it through economic development, through housing, through connections, through a non-competitive way of us loving one another and not judging each other and asking the question, what is your story? Just go out there, tell them your story, stand there. And say when people buy these products, when people engage in this type of beautiful consumerism that's healing for the earth and healing for the body, it actually saves lives. We can hire more women. Women will live because of this. She goes out there, she knocks it out of the park through a shaky voice that spoke something of the deep hurt in this world, but the deeper hope. So, November 8th of this year, we finished shipping to all 430 Whole Foods stores. Amazing. It took us over the almost $2.3 million in sales this year. It means that more than $1 million will be going back into the pockets of survivors this year. It means that more women will be coming off the streets and more people will be being helped. And that's the crazy thing about that CNN hero thing, right? Because what's going to happen on December 11th when they do the show is that we get to say Thistle Farms, and you can go to any Whole Food store in the country and buy the product, and that never would have happened before. So we're very, very hopeful about that. So I'm just going to end with this story and then bring you all up. So the way that it works in economic empowerment and development is that there are many, many, many ways to talk about what it means to be lavish and economical together. Love is a great business model. It's an amazing business model. It's a great way to have something tangible to do with our theology of love. That we can light a candle and it can translate to love. We can anoint one another with healing oils and it translates to a paycheck for a woman. That bag the healing oils were made in were made by a group of women who got together in Ecuador. And they knew we had healing oils, and we designed that I promise you, this sounds crazy, after the Bonnie Bell lip smackers of the 1970s, that we could do healing oils like Bonnie Bell lip smackers, and you could have your whole pack, and it'd be perfect for weddings, for babies, for Christmas. Well, you know, they had to hire more women. They started out with 3 women in this world. Anyway, so there's bottom lines. And one of the things we can say is that we are truly beggars in this world. We ask for money. We continue to need money to support housing, to support new communities, to support welcome mats in Greece, whatever it is. But we also know that because where we are, we take no federal or state money. We have more than 50 women employed by the company. That we save the city of Nashville in revenue and in savings $750,000 a year, just by our presence. That's through court restitution costs. That's through tourism. Jenny, when people come in and they eat and they do stuff, and that doesn't even really include all the money for children who come out of DHS custody. It doesn't include women who have gotten off disability and are working full time. You know, there's a lot of ways that it gives and gives and gives. The $1 million home we built in Nashville, Tennessee to house residents, 8 residents for $1 million. You can do the math on it. Over the years, what we figured out is we can house women in a mansion for half of what it costs to put them in jail. And at the same time, they're doing great healing work. They're going to the Rape and Sexual Crisis Center. They are getting dental work done. They're reuniting with their families. Communities are safer. The women are safer. There's a lot of bottom lines about how this is so lavish. It makes so much sense for all our communities to be involved in. So we were out in Omaha about a month ago. We were out there to share with them the story of Thistle Farms. They're interested in opening their community. It'll be probably the 31st actual home opened that is in this sisterhood. And for me, I'm not always completely inspired to do my work. I know y'all probably are always inspired to do your work. But just the idea of Omaha for 4 days, I'm just saying it's not Sanibel. And we were there, and it was cold, and it was dank, and we were working our tails off. And they did a great job. They had us busy. They had us meeting with community leaders, doing interviews, fundraising events. All of it was happening. But by the end of it, I was spent. And it was Sunday night, and we were coming home. Flying home. Do y'all remember the supermoon? So the moon is full. And I'm flying with Sophia. Sophia, like many of the women that we work with, knew abuse from before she knew her name. She was probably in 7 or 8 foster homes. She was sexually molested, beaten, neglected. She ran away, never finished 6th grade. Like many of the women, they don't call themselves runaways, they call themselves throwaways because nobody came and got them. And they are on the streets, they are vulnerable in this country. So she knew, looking up mostly in institutions and in prisons or on the streets and under bridges. And she survived. She survived. She came to us, and she was on the trip to Omaha. She was hysterical on the plane. I love flying with people who haven't ever flown before. It is one of my all-time favorite things. When Dorris flew for the first time, she was laughing so hard when the plane took off. The flight attendant said over the speaker, as soon as we get to 10,000 feet, the first drink's on me. And I was like, that is a horrible idea. But I, as her pastor, we'll take that free drink for her. That's not true. So she was on the plane, and we were flying home, and I wasn't feeling inspired. I was tired. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting in the window seat. She's sitting in the seat right next to me, and she just leans over on me and just starts taking pictures out the window. I'm telling you, the moon was haloed. And there was a blanket of clouds underneath us that were lit with, grays and deep reds. It was stunning. And she looks up at me as she's taking the pictures and says, I know this is crazy. I never thought about there being sky above the clouds. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world where you didn't dream of a sky above the clouds? How small your world would be? Whenever I have doubts about what we're doing or ever I don't feel inspired to do it, if you just keep working and keep loving, you remember that it opens up a whole new world for people, this work we do. It is life and death. It is hope incarnate. I'm so grateful to get to share a story with you about how it is that we get to live and love together. For the empowerment of people who for some times have never imagined the vast expanse of interstellar space. And that forever her world will be changed. So we're here tonight to be a part of changing more lives with you. We are now part of your story and you are part of our story. It is connected. And there's a million ways that we can do this work together, and we want to be a part of it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Oh.
So, after the conclusion of this series in March, we want to continue discussion and networking on these ideas that are going to be coming up. If you are interested in being a part of that discussion and being a part of that working group anytime in the next 3 months, please email us at info@zontasancap.com. Next Wednesday, we will be participating in Take a Stand in the Sand against violence, and that will be December 7th at 10 o'clock on Island B and the Sanibel Causeway. Just come and wear orange and black, orange or black. We'll have plenty of signs. Also a reminder that we will continue these discussions on January 5th and February 2nd, and tickets are available from Big Arts. One of the groups that we're going to be having in January is called Rethreaded. Rethreaded makes beautiful items out of t-shirts, and we're asking people who come on January 5th to bring t-shirts, mostly cotton, without side seams. And if you can't come on January 5th or you don't want to keep those t-shirts until then, Island Vacations, and I don't know where Beth, I think she's over there someplace. Raise your hand, Beth, where are you? There she is. Beth from Island Vacations will be collecting those. Island Vacations is across from the Dairy Queen. So we hope to collect so many t-shirts that somebody will have to drive up there with them that will fill an entire vehicle. And once again, Thistle Farms products are available outside, and these are made with love, so they're especially good as gifts. Becca will be available in the gallery for the reception, and she will be signing books, and she may even sign gifts if you beg her for that. And one thing that we can all do tonight, and we can do it tomorrow, and we can do it every day until next Tuesday, is once again to vote for Becca for CNN Hero. And if you don't remember how to do that, or you don't know how to do that, here are the instructions. You can vote 10 times through email, 10 times by Facebook, and 10 times by Twitter. And if you have more than one device, you can actually duplicate that. So vote early, vote often. We really, it would be so exciting for her to win. And we're going to close now. Those of you who know me know why this is so meaningful to me, but Dorris is going to close the event tonight. But before I pass the mic over to her, from the Zonta Club of Sanibel-Captiva and Big Arts and Thistle Farms, we thank you so much for spending this evening with us. And Dorris.
Here you go. Thank you, baby.
So we're gonna close. I'm sorry. We're gonna close this afternoon with a song, and it's a song that's not very creative. It's just "We Are Thistle Farms." I am a Thistle Farmer is the name of the song, and it names off all the products. So in case you missed something on the table, kind of persistent, huh? Huh? I wrote the song. I did. The first song I wrote when I came into the program was a song out of gratitude. I was so grateful to get my life back. And then the next song I wrote was out of desperation because I couldn't remember the name of all the products. So I just walked around and I picked up the products because I was a manager in packing, and I wrote this little song. So you all clap with me, and then the way it's going in my mind, you're going to be so inspired that when I get through singing, you're going to go out there and just shop, shop, shop. I'm a Thistle farmer, and Thistle Farms is where I work. We make body butter, balm, and polish. I like to whistle when I work. We come together holding hands in the circle where we meet. Lip balm smooth, these candles burning bright, and thistle paper is really neat. You see, Becca Stevens started this thing nearly 20 years ago. So come on by and get our products. We'll welcome you at the door. I'm a Thistle farmer, and Thistle Stop Cafe is here to stay. You'll be glad that you're a customer. You smile as you walk away. We make lotion, soap, shower gel, room spray the way you like. Healing oil, geranium too, and books that are out of sight. Hey, I'm a Thistle farmer, and Thistle farming is what I do. So come on by, shop with me, and we'll make you a farmer too. That's it. Thank you.